Carolina. News, information, community awareness, education. The Mary Perkins-Williams Show.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, you're welcome to the News, Community Information, Awareness, and Education Show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams. Well, as you can tell, this is not Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams' voice. But yes, you got something better today. This is the one and only, the man with the sauce, the man they might call Victor Ihuka. Yes, if you're an avid listener on Awesome Radio Network, you'd remember my voice from our weekend show, Pete Perspectives on Awesome Radio, the show where we share stories, celebrate culture, and inspire community. That goes live every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 10. I'm usually here with my buddies, AY, Patrick, and Patrick. Yes, it's always an amazing time. Yes, but today I'm standing in for Miss Mary. Yes, Miss Mary is one of my favorite people out here. We've been working together for a couple years now. And yes, it's an honor to stand in for her today. So, we're going to have something different today. So, yes, today we're going to talk about all things Africa. So, think about it as Africa 101. And as always, at any point in the show, you can call in and ask any questions you have on 252-756-2008. 252-756-2008. Yes, so let's get down to it. So today we are talking about Africa, and I'm going to give you all a sort of rundown about Africa, just some big picture information, about Africa. We'll explore the tribes and some cultural practices and some empowering legacies out of Africa. So as always, don't forget, it's me, your man, your favorite voice, Victor Ihuka from Pit Perspectives on Awesome Radio, that holds on Awesome Radio every Saturday morning. Yes, let's begin. Africa, a story of resilience, diversity, and unity. Right, so let's talk about Africa. Did you know that Africa is the second largest continent in the world? So Africa covers about 30 million square kilometers. That is about 11.7 million square miles. That's huge. So a lot of people don't realize this, but Africa is huge, but you don't get to see the size of Africa accurately on the maps. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons from different people why how or why that is so. So, for instance, Africa is more than 15 times, larger than Greenland. But on the maps you see, it seems like Greenland looks bigger than Africa, and that's not so. So, Africa can fit in the continental United States, Europe, and some other continents together, and you still have some space. So yes, Africa is the second largest continent, covering about 30 million square kilometers, and that's about 11.7 million square miles. Africa is home to over 1.3 billion people. Yes, Africa has, one of the largest populations in the world, over 1.3 billion people, with more than 3,000 unique and different ethnic groups and over 2,000 languages spoken. Wow, how about that? So like I said, at any point in the show, feel free to call in and share your thoughts or ask any questions you might have about Africa. I'll try my best to get to all of that. So yes, Africa is home to over 1.3 billion people with more than 3,000 ethnic groups and 2,000 languages spoken. So Africa is diverse too, from vast deserts like the Sahara to tropical rainforests, savannas, and towering mountains. Africa's landscapes are as diverse as its people. Now, something to note too about Africa is that each region of Africa has its own unique customs, traditions, and histories, from the pyramids of Egypt to the Swahili coast and the bustling markets of West Africa. No two parts of Africa are the same. Yes, that's something else I think a lot of people don't realize about Africa. Each region in Africa has its own unique customs, traditions, and histories. Now let's get right down to it. Africa is divided into 5 key regions, and each of these regions has its own unique culture, landscape, and traditions. Now let's start with North Africa. North Africa has ancient civilizations like Egypt and Carthage. And one thing to note about North Africa is that it's predominantly Arabic speaking. Now, some countries in North Africa include Morocco. Morocco is in North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan. So, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan are all in the northern parts of Africa. As for East Africa, East Africa is known for the Maasai and the Swahili culture. So, East Africa, like I said earlier, different parts of Africa have different unique, customs and landscape and everything. So, East Africa is known for, the Maasai and Swahili culture, and they have wildlife too. They're also known for their wildlife, like the Serengeti. Yes, so East Africa includes Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Madagascar. So a lot of those places at the tip of Africa are all in the eastern parts of Africa. And on the southern part of Africa, the southern part of Africa is also a very diverse region that's shaped by the sad history of apartheid, and it's home to the Zulu and the Xhosa people. So southern Africa includes places like Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, Swaziland, and Lesotho. So Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, Swaziland, and Lesotho are all in southern Africa. And then to my favorite part of Africa, where I'm from, West Africa. West Africa is rich in history, art, and culture. Yes, I'll be focusing a lot today on West Africa because, that's where I'm from. So, and it's, one of the best parts of Africa. But yes, West Africa includes places like Mauritania, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, Niger Republic, and all of those places in the western parts of Africa. Yes. So that's it for West Africa. Now we have talked about 4 out of the 5 regions, unique regions of Africa. Now the 5th and final one would be Central Africa. Yes, Central Africa is dominated by rainforests and tribes like the Pygmies. Central Africa include countries like Chad, Cameroon, Gabon, the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Angola, and some of those other places. Do we have a caller on the line or not? All right. So yes, that's it for Central Africa. Now let's zoom in a bit on West Africa. Like I said, that's some big picture view of Africa. Now let's get down to West Africa. Yes, like I said earlier, West Africa includes countries like Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Togo, Nigeria, Benin, and all of those places. West Africa is home to some of the most well-known tribes and empires in African history. Yes, West Africa is home to historic empires like Mali and Songhai. Yes, I think we have a caller on the line. Good morning. You're tuned into Awesome Radio, and this is the News, Community Information, Awareness, and Education Show. Who do we have on the line?
What's up? It's your boy Dion. What's up, my friend?
Good. Good to hear from you. How you doing?
Doing fine. I think we saw each other the other day.
Oh, yeah?
ECU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you talking about Africa. I got people from, I grew up around people from Togo, West Africa.
Oh, Togo?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's up. How was the experience with them?
And Oh, I learned music from them. The drummer and the keyboard player, they were from Africa. They went to ECU years ago, and that was my beginning roots. Playing gospel music.
Oh, that's what's up. Did you
Okay. I
ever
was
try some
young.
food?
I was young and stuff like that. Yeah, they put me on to the food too.
That's
But
what's
also,
up.
I dated a girl. I dated a girl from Kenya.
Ooh, look at you, from West Africa to East Africa.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kenya is in
man.
East
So,
Africa.
okay, Kenya is East Africa.
Yeah, and Togo is West Africa. How about that?
Yeah, man. I'm trying to figure out. I remember. And what church did you go to?
Yeah, I attend St. James United Methodist Church on East 6th
Yeah,
Street.
yeah. We saw each other the other day.
Yeah, Dion, right? Dion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
good.
think it's good to hear you on the radio, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We need to do some music stuff together too, man. I appreciate you
You got
calling
my
in,
number.
Dion. Yeah.
Yeah, give me a call, brother. You can get a chance.
Yes, sir. I will. I will. Do have a blessed day, brother.
You too, brother.
All right, man.
Take
Have
care.
a good one. Yeah. Bye-bye. Yes, it's still here on the News, Community Information, Awareness and Education Show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams. Yes, Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams is out, but she has a worthy standing today. It's me, your voice, your favorite voice on the radio, Victor Ihuka. Yes, from Pit Perspectives and Awesome Radio. Pit Perspectives, we are live on the radio every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 10. Yes, it's the best show where you get to share stories, celebrate culture, and inspire community from Eastern North Carolina to the rest of the world. And I'm always here with my friends, my buddies, AY and Patrick, every Saturday morning. I hope to see you on the show. Yes, we're still talking about Africa, and we just got done talking about the 5 key regions. We talked about North Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa, West Africa, and East Africa. And like I said, just like Dion, at any point you can call in on the show on 252-756-2008 and share your opinion or ask any questions you might have about Africa. Yeah, and just like Dion said he grew up around folks from Togo and he dated a girl from Kenya. So that's from West Africa to East Africa. How about that for an experience? Yes, we are dialing in on West Africa. West Africa is a cultural powerhouse. West Africa, like I said, is home to some of the most well-known tribes and empires in African history. Historic empires like Mali and the Songhai empires were centers of learning, trade, and culture. Timbuktu was once a renowned center of education in the 15th and 16th centuries. And West Africa's rich heritage has influenced cultures worldwide, particularly in the African diaspora around the world. Yes, a lot of cultures around the world have been, influenced by West Africa's rich heritage. Yes, now talking about some notable West African tribes, we have the Yorubas. Yes, Yoruba is a tribe that can be found in western Nigeria and parts of Benin. Benin is a country right next to Togo, like Dion mentioned earlier. Yes, Nigeria and Benin, you can find the Yorubas, there. Yorubas are known for their Ifa religion, their festivals, and their arts. Yes, so that's for the Yorubas as one of the notable West African tribes. There is also the Hausa tribe. The Hausa can be found. Hausa, you spell Hausa Hausa, and Yoruba is Yoruba. Yes, you have the Yoruba tribes found in Nigeria and parts of Benin. They are known for their Ifa religion. It's one of the traditional African religions and festivals and arts. And then we have the Hausa tribe that's found in Nigeria and parts of Niger Republic. So Niger is spelled Niger. Some people pronounce it as Niger, but it's Niger. Yes, it's, I think, pronounced French. Yes, the Hausa people have renowned traders and Islamic scholars. Yes, the Hausa tribe are predominantly Muslim. They can be found in Nigeria and parts of Niger Republic. And then as the next tribe would be the Akan. The Akan, yes, Akan is Akan, and it's the Akan people are found mostly in Ghana, um, and they are famous for gold and the concept of Sankofa. Yes, the Akan people are mostly found in Ghana, and they are famous for gold and the concept of Sankofa. Sankofa reflects on the past, to shape the future. So I think Sankofa means, going back to get something that's lost or something like that. So Sankofa means reflecting on the past to shape the future. So that's a concept in the Akan tribe, AKAN, and the Akan people can be found in Ghana. So we've talked about the Yoruba, the Hausa, and the Akan tribes. Yes, and some of the hidden gems of West Africa also include the Fulani tribe. So the Fulani tribes are nomadic herders that are renowned for their cattle rearing, jewelry, and elaborate hairstyles. Yes, the Fulani can also be found in many parts of West Africa, from Nigeria up until Senegal and Mali and every other place in between. Yes, the Fulani tribe, Fulani, the Fulani tribe are traditionally nomadic herders renowned for their cattle rearing, jewelry, and elaborate hairstyles. Yes, and perhaps my favorite tribe in all of Africa is the Igbo tribe, IGBO. Yes, I'm an Igbo man. Yes, the Igbo tribe is found predominantly in Nigeria. The Igbos are known for their entrepreneurial spirit, and unique system of governance, which is based on consensus and democracy. Yes, the Igbos in Nigeria, found in Nigeria, are known for their entrepreneurial spirit and unique system of governance, which is based on consensus and democracy. Yes. So that's, like I said, there are over 2,000 different ethnic groups, but these are just big picture, views about Africa. And at any point, if you have any insight or questions to share, feel free to call our lines on 252-756-2008. I'd love to hear from you. Yes, now let's talk about some West African cultural practices. Now, I think the first one to talk about would be rites of passage. Yes, in many West African cultures, there are different ceremonies that mark a person's transition into adulthood. These ceremonies are unique to different places. In some places, there are usually, some rituals that have to be done. In some other places, sometimes these are days long rituals, that sort of, shows that transition or mark a person's transition, into adulthood. So rites of passage, is one of those West African cultural practices. Yes, the second one would be naming ceremonies. Yes, the naming ceremonies is specifically such a big deal in the Yoruba tribe. Remember, we talked about the Yorubas a little earlier, about being one of the tribes found in Nigeria and in Benin in West Africa. Yes, they have a unique cultural practice of naming ceremonies. Yoruba children receive their names in a joyful communal ceremony filled with prayer and music. And naming ceremonies are typically carried out about 7 or 8 days after a baby is born. It's a thing, it's such a big deal. So the newborn baby gets named about 7 or 8 days after they are born. So it's one of the West African cultural practices. So we've talked about rites of passage and we've talked about naming ceremonies. The last one would be festivals. Yes, festivals are such a huge part of, pretty much any part of Africa you can think about. Yes, we'll talk about some of these things some more, and we'll talk about some West African food so you have a taste of tradition and then we'll zone in on some specific other countries, like Cameroon, after we get back from the break. This is still Awesome Radio, and this is still the news, community information, awareness, and education show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams. And I'm your favorite voice on the radio. This is Victor Ihuka. Don't touch that dial. Boom.
It's Mother's Day Love Day for Awesome Radio at the McGregor Downs Health Center, Greenville. Thank you, everyone, for your givings to help make this community act of love possible. We will be hand delivering gift bags to each lady resident at McGregor Downs on Friday, May 8th. If you would like to join us, please let us know so we can add your name to the visitors list. Our number is 252-756-3137. And it's not too late for you to help sponsor gift bags. $10 will sponsor one bag. Let's come together to spread Jesus' joy to the lady residents at McGregor Downs Health Center. Reach us at 252-756-3137.
Hello, my name is Daniel from Greenville. We appreciate you for listening to Awesome Radio.
Awesome Radio, yeah, it's awesome, awesome, yeah, you feel it, awesome, awesome, awesome.
News, information, community awareness, education. The Mary Perkins-Williams Show.
Yes, welcome back to the news, community information, awareness, and education show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams. And if you've been listening, you would know this is not Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams' voice. Yes, this is your man, the man with the sauce, your favorite voice on the radio, Victor Ihuka, from our weekend show, Pit Perspectives on Awesome Radio, where we share stories, celebrate culture, and inspire communities from right here in Eastern North Carolina to the rest of the world. And Pit Perspectives, we go live every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 on Awesome Radio, and I'm usually with my men, AY and Patrick. Yes, today, standing in for Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams, we've been talking about Africa. Think of this as Africa 101. Yes, we talked about Africa, big picture, the different regions, North Africa, South Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and East Africa. And then we dialed it down to West Africa, where I'm from, because I'm from Nigeria. And specifically, I'm from Eastern Nigeria, the illustrious Igbo people of Nigeria. And at any point, like I said, you can feel free to call us and share your ideas or any questions you might have about Africa or stereotypes or assumptions, and we'll try and talk about it as clearly and as informative as we can. And our calling numbers are still 252-756-2008. 252-756-2008. Yes, just before we went on that break, we were talking about some West African cultural practices. We talked about the rites of passage, how in many West African cultures there are usually ceremonies that mark a person's transition into adulthood. Some of these ceremonies are very elaborate. We also talked about naming ceremonies, which is very unique and peculiar to the Yoruba people, that can be found in Western Nigeria and in parts of the Republic of Benin, which is, close and bordered by Nigeria in West Africa. And naming ceremonies, is this ceremony whereby Yoruba children receive their names in a joyful communal ceremony filled with prayer and music. And it's typically carried out about 7 or 8 days after a baby is born. They don't get named until, this elaborate naming ceremony. It's an amazing, colorful event too, typically. And we also have festivals. Like I said, festivals are, one of those things every culture in Africa has. And remember, we talked about how Africa has over 3,000 unique, ethnic groups too, which is amazing. It's this whole mosaic of cultures, and it's 54 countries in Africa. Yes, for some people who think Africa is a country, no, Africa is the second largest continent in the whole world. Yes, and it has a population of over 1.3 billion people. How about that? Yes, talking about festivals, we have the Homowo Festival. I probably not pronounced it the right way because I'm Nigerian, and this festival is from the Ga people in Ghana. Homowo. Homowo Festival from the Ga people in Ghana, GA. That's how you spell it, GA. Ga people in Ghana. And this festival celebrates the end of famine with music and dance. And even in Nigeria, in the eastern part of Nigeria, we have a lot of ceremonies. We have the New Yam Festival. We have, which is used to celebrate, the harvest, the beginning of the harvest season. We have a lot of, age grade ceremonies. We have traditional retirement ceremonies too. Like when a person is retired from public life, they host this huge ceremony, traditional ceremony, to sort of lay down their tool, whatever that is, they've worked with their entire life. We also talked about on Pete Perspectives show actually a couple of weeks ago about, festivals like the Argungu Fishing Festival in, I think the Midwest part of Nigeria. We also talked about, I believe, the very colorful festival in Western Nigeria, Ijoba Odun, that AY talked about some more. Yes, so Africa has a plethora of different festivals that and ceremonies that signify different aspects of culture. And now to my favorite part, some West African food. And something to note at every point in this show, a lot of what we are talking about are big picture, things, because there are almost countless cultures and festivals and food and ethnic groups and languages in Africa, and there is only so much time to talk about stuff. And I'm from West Africa, so I tell you, there are so many things about Africa that I don't even know about. Yes, but we do the best we can. At least you learn something about West Africa, which is where I'm from. Yeah, so we're talking about food at this point. West African food, a taste of tradition. So one of my favorites, and some food you might have heard at some point in your life, is jollof rice. JOLLOF and then rice. Yes, jollof rice is a popular dish across West Africa with regional variations that inspire friendly rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana. Yes, there's something like we call the jollof wars, which is this rivalry about which country has the best jollof rice. Hey, if you ask me, it's a no-brainer. Nigeria has the best jollof rice. But I'll tell you, the Senegalese folks from Senegal will tell you jollof even originated from Senegal. So yes, jollof rice is a popular dish across West Africa. There are variations between the Nigerian and the Ghanaian jollof rice. I'm sure there's a difference in the Senegalese jollof rice. So every part of West Africa has their own unique variations of jollof rice. Yes, jollof rice is a popular dish across West Africa with regional variations that inspire friendly rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana. Yes, something else, another food, from West Africa you would have heard about too would be fufu. Yes, FUFU. Fufu is a starchy food often served with a variety of soups and stews. So fufu isn't eaten, by itself alone. Fufu has to be eaten alongside a stew or a soup. So fufu is one of those, food from West Africa that has made its way to the ends of the earth. So yes, fufu is a starchy food often served with a variety of soups and stews. Moving on, we also have egusi soup. So egusi is spelled EGUSI. Egusi soup. Egusi is made from melon seeds. Egusi is melon. So egusi soup is a hearty Nigerian soup made from melon seeds, often served with fufu. Remember how I mentioned just, a couple seconds ago how fufu is not eaten by itself. Fufu is eaten, with some stew or some type of soup. So egusi is one of those soups, that you can eat fufu with. And hey, if you need some West African Nigerian food in your life, you can reach out to me. I'll, probably point you in the right direction. And if your offer is right, I could make you some, Yes, if the offer is right though, but hey, yes, we're talking about food. And as always, this is the news, community information and awareness an education show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams, and I'm Victor Ihuka, your favorite voice on the mic. Yes, we're running down on the time, but after egusi soup, I wanted to mention wakye. So wakye is spelled W-A-A-K-Y-E. Wakye is from Ghana. It's a traditional rice and beans dish commonly eaten for breakfast. So wakye is from Ghana. Ghana has, like every other African country, has a ton of different food items. There is banku, there is wakye, there's one that looks like a rice pudding. There is all these different foods, from different parts of Africa. So we've talked about jollof rice, the most popular one. We've talked about fufu. We've talked about egusi soup, and we talk about wakye, which is from Ghana. Yes. Now let's zoom in even quite a bit to West Africa. Let's talk about Cameroon. So Cameroon actually borders Nigeria. Cameroon has a border with Nigeria, but it's classified as being in Central Africa. Yes, Cameroon borders Nigeria, but it's classified as being in Central Africa. We'll drill down to talk a little bit about Cameroon, and then we'll talk about South Africa. But as always, we'll do all that after the break. Don't go anywhere. This is still the News, Community Information, and Awareness Education Show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams. See you after the break.
The 11th Annual Youth Incarceration Prevention Ministry event beginning 12 noon, Saturday, June 6th, at St. John Missionary Baptist Church, Soul Saving Center in Stokes at 2921 Briary Swamp Road. Youth of all ages are invited to attend this totally free event. Come get motivated to not make jail time your destiny. Keynote speaker Sheriff Paula S. Dance, along with other guest speakers to include Judge Wendy S. Hazelton, Lieutenant Gary Howard, Jalen Staten, Minister Derek Clark, Mrs. Julie Bunn. There will be gift card giveaways, food trucks, global gaming truck, bouncy houses, and more. Contact Eddie, 252-341-7546. Evelyn, 252-253-9520. Brenda, 252-717-0097. The 11th Annual Youth Incarceration Prevention Ministry event, Saturday, June 6th, beginning 12 noon at St. John Missionary Baptist Church, Soul Saving Center in Stokes. Pastor Gregory V. Black.
Health Pro is a licensed home care organization and a trusted provider of in-home care services with skilled nursing and personal care services. When your elderly parents live alone, there are many things that can be done to make general housekeeping and personal care easier. We are located at 408 West Arlington Boulevard, Suite 101C, Greenville. At Health Pro, our services provide a relief for the aging and the disabled population who prefer to recover in the comfort of their homes. Our services expand beyond the normal, and we are currently serving 17 counties in eastern North Carolina. Veteran personal care services, companion care, sitter care, respite care, private pay home care, pediatric adolescent personal care services are just a few of the many services we offer. Health Pro, a local, trusted, leading provider of in-home care services. 252-364-8114. That's 252-364-8114.
Awesome Radio.
I am Miss Mary Cox. I'm Killer Pippin's mother from Awesome Radio.
Awesome Radio. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you feel it. Awesome. Awesome.
News, information, community awareness, education. The Mary Perkins-Williams Show.
Yes, welcome back to the Mary Perkins-Williams Show. And if you've been listening, you can tell this is not Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams. This is maybe someone better. Well, I don't know. This is Victor Ihuka, your favorite voice on the mic, the man with the juice, the man with the sauce. Yes, you can recognize me from Pit Perspectives on Awesome Radio, the show where we share stories, celebrate culture, and inspire community from Eastern North Carolina to the rest of the world. Yes, Pit Perspectives go live. We go live on the radio every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 10. And I'm usually here with my buddies, AY and Patrick. Yes, today on the news, community information, awareness, and education show with Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams, we're talking about Africa 101. Yes, we started with big picture Africa, 54 countries, 5 distinct regions: North Africa, South Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and East Africa. And then we drilled it down to West Africa, which is where I'm from, because I'm from Nigeria. And we talked about some, different tribes, that are peculiar to West Africa. And like I said, there are tons of things we could talk about. In Africa, we could spend a whole year, every day of a whole year, talking about Africa, and we can't even get to all there is about it. So, yes. So think of these as Cliff Notes version of Africa. So we've talked about, some unique West African cultural practices. We've talked about some West African food. And as always, at any point on the show, you can call in on the show on 252-756-2008 if you have any question or any ideas or insights to share. Yes, Dion, called in earlier on the show, and thanks to Dion for calling in and shared with me how he grew up playing music with some folks from Togo. Togo is in West Africa, and he dated a girl from Kenya. Kenya is in East Africa. So, how about that for a cultural experience? Yes, we're still here, and we just finished talking about some West African food. We talked about jollof rice, which is, arguably the most popular African food. We talked about fufu, we talked about egusi soup, and we talked about wachi. Wachi is a food from Ghana. It's a traditional rice and beans dish commonly eaten as breakfast. Now let's drill even down to talk about a country, one of the countries in Central Africa, and this country is called Cameroon. Yes, Cameroon is often called Africa in miniature due to its cultural and geographical diversity. So Cameroon, like a lot of different parts of Africa, has several different unique tribes. There is the Bamileke tribe. So the Bamileke are known for their beadwork and warrior traditions. Yes, the Bamileke in Cameroon are known for their beadwork and warrior tradition. Bamileke is spelled Bamileke, Bamileke. Yes, we also have the Beti Pahuin. So the Beti Pahuin people in Cameroon are known for their communal living and spiritual beliefs. So the Beti Pahuin people from Cameroon are known for their communal living and spiritual beliefs. Every part of Africa has all these unique cultures and tribes and practices that's unique to them. Yes, so in Cameroon, we have the Ngondo Festival of the Sawa people. So the Ngondo Festival, that's the Ngondo. Yes, the Ngondo Festival of the Sawa people celebrates water rituals and honors ancestors. So this is a festival that completely takes place on the water, so on rivers. Yes, the Ngondo Festival of the Sawa people celebrates water rituals and honors ancestors. Yes, that's a snapshot of Cameroon. Cameroon is bordering Nigeria, and it's considered to be in Central Africa. Yes, another country I'd like to highlight is South Africa. Yes, South Africa is a country, it's a nation of diversity. So, one of the most popular people from South Africa would be Nelson Mandela. Yes, Nelson Mandela is from South Africa, the legendary Nelson Mandela. South Africa is known as the Rainbow Nation because of its diverse mix of cultures and languages. And in South Africa, there are a number of different tribes. But some of the most popular tribes in South Africa is the Zulu Nation, Z-U-L-U, the Zulu. Yes, the Zulu are famous for their warrior history and cultural pride. Yes, the Zulu in South Africa, and then we have the Xhosa. The Xhosa people, it's a different tribe too in South Africa, are known for their distinct language with click sounds and rich oral traditions. That's the Xhosa tribe of South Africa. And then there is the Zulu Reed dance. It's a dance, it's a significant cultural event in the Zulu tribe that celebrates womanhood and community. So the Zulu Reed dance is a significant cultural event celebrating womanhood and community. Yes, that's a snapshot of South Africa, which is known as Rainbow Nation. And like I said, one of the most popular people ever from South Africa is Nelson Mandela. Well, we have an equally famous person from South Africa, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is from South Africa too. But yes, that's that for South Africa. Yes, moving on, we have Kenya. Kenya is a country in East Africa. Yes, Kenya is a country in East Africa. Kenya is a land of natural wonders. Kenya is renowned for its breathtaking landscapes, from savannas and mountain ranges to coastal beaches along the Indian Ocean. Kenya is renowned. It has, a lot of the different parts of Africa has, game reserves, but Kenya also has a huge, concentration of some beautiful landscapes that, has a lot of tourist attractions. And Kenya is also known for long distance runners. So if you've ever watched a marathon, you would see that sometimes, I mean, even in Nigeria, sometimes the first top 5 finishes in a marathon, are all Kenyans. So they are known for their long distance runners. Yeah, so Kenya is renowned for its breathtaking landscapes, from savannas and mountain ranges to coastal beaches along the Indian Ocean. Now, Kenya is known as the cradle of humanity because Kenya is home to some of the earliest human fossils, highlighting its significance in human history. It's a well-known truism that life or civilization started in Africa. Life as we know it started in Africa. So Kenya is known as the cradle of humanity because it's home to some of the earliest human fossils. And this highlights its significance in human history. Yes, the Maasai, Maasai. The Maasai are one of Kenya's most well-known ethnic groups. The Maasai are famous for their distinctive red attire. They have a huge beaded jewelry culture. They do a lot of beads in their jewelry. And they have an intricate warrior traditions. That's why you hear things like the Maasai warrior, So yes, the Maasai are one of Kenya's most well-known ethnic groups, famous for their distinctive red attire, beaded jewelry, and intricate warrior traditions. Yes, along the coast, Swahili culture, which is, from Kenya, Swahili culture blends African, Arab, and Persian influences, which is a result of centuries of trade across the Indian Ocean. So, so many, I guess, a couple hundreds or even thousands of years ago, Arabian traders and tradesmen traded along the shores and the ports in the Indian Ocean. So, along the coast, Swahili cultures blends African, Arab, and Persian influences, which is a result of centuries of trade across the Indian Ocean. Yes. So, I guess in rounding up all of this, I'd like to highlight a concept, a cultural concept, that's one of my favorites from Africa. This is a philosophical thought and a concept. It's known as Sankofa. I mentioned this earlier when I was giving a rundown of different parts of Africa, especially West Africa. So Sankofa is spelled Sankofa. Sankofa. So Sankofa, is a symbol in Akan. So Akan is a tribe, is an ethnic group from Ghana. That's where Sankofa has its origin. So Sankofa is an Akan symbol that means go back and fetch it. That's what Sankofa means. So Sankofa represents the importance of reflecting on the past to build a better future. That's what Sankofa means, learning from the past. It represents how important, and this is a very This is a very important aspect of the African culture, reflecting on the past to build a better future. So Sankofa encourages us to reconnect with our roots and draw strength from the past. Whatever those roots are for you. For me, it's in the city of Aba in eastern Nigeria in West Africa, and for you out there, it could be anywhere. It could be in Greenville, it could be in Winnerville, it could be in North Carolina, or any part of the world where your roots are. So Sankofa, this African philosophical concept from Ghana, encourages us to reconnect with our roots and draw strengths from the past. That's what Sankofa is about. So yes, today has been about Africa, and it's been an amazing time. So yes, we've explored, a snapshot of the African continent. Like I said, it's some 50 something countries. It's a continent. It's home to over 1.3 billion people. Africa, how about that? It's the second largest continent in the world, and Africa covers 30 million square kilometers, which is about 11.7 million square miles. And Africa has more than 3,000 unique ethnic groups, and there are over 2,000 unique languages spoken. I mean, in Nigeria alone, Nigeria has over 250 different ethnic groups and over 500 different languages spoken. And that's Nigeria alone. And for me, I can speak as many as one or two. How about that? So Africa has unique terrains, unique climates too. From vast deserts like Sahara. Sahara Desert, I think, is one of the largest, if not the largest desert in the world, which is found in Africa, to tropical rainforest. We have savannas and towering mountains. And like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, Africa's landscapes are as diverse as its people. Each region of Africa has its own unique customs, traditions, and histories. From the pyramids of Egypt to the Swahili coast and the bustling markets of West Africa. No two parts of Africa are the same. That's something to keep in mind. As different as Africa is, that's how, both the cultures and, the landscape, that's how different it is. And I also talked about the regional diversity of Africa. We talked about North Africa and how North Africa is home to ancient civilizations like the Egypt and Carthage, civilizations that are predominantly Arabic speaking. So much of North Africa has Arabic as its dominant language. We have Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Sudan. These are countries we've heard about in the news or on something, and these are all in North Africa. Now East Africa is known, like I said, for the Maasai, the Swahili culture, and they have wildlife like the Serengeti. So the Serengeti is in East Africa, and East Africa is made up of countries like Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, all of those places, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe, even Madagascar. The island of Madagascar is considered to be in East Africa. And then for Central Africa is dominated by rainforests. Rainforests, it's very, we have a lot of rainforests in Central Africa. And countries in Central Africa include Chad, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Gabon, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Angola, and the other Congo too. These are all countries in Central Africa. And then we have Southern Africa, which is a diverse region that's shaped by the sad history of apartheid, and it's home to the Zulu and the Xhosa tribes. So Southern Africa is made up of countries like Namibia, Botswana, Swaziland, Lesotho, and of course South Africa. So these are countries in Southern Africa. And I guess my favorite part of Africa, which is where I'm from, West Africa. So West Africa is rich in history, art, and culture. We focused a lot on West Africa because that's the part of Africa I know the most about, relatively. So West Africa is made up of countries like Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, and of course, the best country in Africa, Nigeria. Yes, we talked about all those things, and we talked about West Africa as a cultural powerhouse. How West Africa is home to some of the most well-known tribes and empires in African history. We had the Mali Empire and the Songhai Empire that were centers of learning. Actually, I think the first Institute of Learning, organized learning, the first what's considered university in the world, is in Timbuktu, which is a place in Mali. We have all those places, the pyramids of Egypt and all of those places, And like we mentioned at some point in the show, West Africa's rich heritage has influenced cultures worldwide, particularly in the African diaspora. And we gave a snapshot of some notable West African tribes like the Yoruba, which is found in Nigeria and parts of Benin. We also talked about the Hausa, Hausa, Hausa tribe that's found in Nigeria and parts of Niger Republic. We also talked a bit about the Akan tribe in Ghana. Akan, A-K-A-N, is famous for gold. And the concept of Sankofa that we talked about, Sankofa, which is reflecting on the past to shape the future. We talked briefly also about the Igbo tribe of Nigeria, which is where I'm from. We are known for our entrepreneurial spirit and unique system of governance, which is based on consensus and democracy. We talked a bit about certain West African practices, like rites of passage, how in many West African cultures, there are ceremonies to mark a person's transition, into adulthood. Some of these ceremonies are week long. We also have the unique naming ceremony that's predominantly found among the Yoruba people of Nigeria, how when a child is born, on its eighth or seventh day of existence, they have to give the baby a name, and this is done in a ceremony that's filled, with joy and community and prayer and music. And then festivals are a huge part of the African culture. Yes, we also gave a snapshot of foods, West African foods especially. We talked about jollof rice, which is a popular dish across West Africa with regional variations that inspire friendly rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana. We also talked about fufu. I mean, everybody has heard about fufu. It's a starchy food often served with a variety of soups and stews. We also talked about the egusi soup, which is a hearty Nigerian soup made from melon seeds that's often served with fufu. We talked about wachi. Wachi is from Ghana. Wachi is a traditional rice and beans dish commonly eaten for breakfast. Yes, we had all these conversations on the show. We gave a snapshot of Cameroon, and the unique cultures you can find, like the Bamileke people in Cameroon that are known for their beadwork and warrior traditions. We also talked about some of the festivals of the Sawa people in Cameroon, that celebrates water rituals and honors ancestors. We gave a snapshot of South Africa as a nation of diversity, home to one of the most popular Africans, Nelson Mandela. Yes, I also mentioned Elon Musk is from South Africa, we spoke a bit about Kenya as a land of natural wonders, and then, to end the show today, I'd like to bring back something we've talked about a bit earlier, which is Sankofa, this Ghana Akan symbol that means go back and fetch it. It represents the importance of reflecting on the past to build a better future. It's been an amazing time with you all. Commissioner Mary Perkins-Williams will be with you all next week. Don't touch that dial.
Awesome Radio. Awesome Radio. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Can you feel it? Awesome. Awesome.
The Lincoln City Family Reunion is back.